Welcome to Pit Creations. Working on a bench. This is a picnic, or not picnic, sorry, a bench that I made for the fire pit out of a log that was on the property when we first moved in. Cut the log into slabs using the chainsaw, and then, did a bunch of other stuff to it in previous lives. So you can check some of those out to see what we've done prior to today. Right now, I've got this, the voids filled and sanded to 120. So I'm going to clean this off and then put down a layer of penetrating oil. And let's see how it goes. So let me get some, I'll just try wiping this off, getting any sawdust off of it so that it's ready for the oil. Welcome to all of those of you who are joining on this beautiful Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Guessing lots of people have the day off. I've got it mostly off, but I'll be going into the office a little bit later. Figured I'd try and get this done beforehand. And the finish, the penetrating oil finish, says that it takes 12 hours before it's ready to use. So I'll apply it. It says not to flood the surface, because it won't penetrate. It'll just gel on the surface, the excess. So I'll use just enough to coat it. And then it says to wipe it down after 20 to 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, I think is what the instructions say. So I'm guessing that I'm going to need some breathing protection while I'm applying this. So I'll have to grab my mask. But that shouldn't be too terrible. I previously finished this with epoxy and polyurethane, and that didn't keep very well. But when I first put down that epoxy, it was just a clear epoxy, man, the grain really popped. And I was like, oh, this is incredible. Sadly, it did not weather well. So I think that is clean enough. So, hey, Suzanne, thanks for joining us. You excited to see the oil effect on the bench? I know I am. So let me let's shake this guy up. It says it's supposed to be shaken and stirred. So unlike James Bond's martinis, which are shaken and not stirred, this is shaken and stirred. So this is Penafin Penetrating Oil Finish. Not sponsored, sadly and inexplicably. But this is what the guy at the hardwood specialty store said would be best for this use. And so I am trusting in him. Now, this is not a long-term solution, because this will wear off periodically. So I might have to reapply it probably at least every year, maybe more frequently than that. But that's better than the finish that I had on it before that just did not weather well and couldn't really reapply. Yes, you're excited? Sweet. I am also excited. So let me open this guy up and see if it smells bad enough that I really do need. some breathing protection. And I was planning to crack open the door, and yeah, I'm going to get some breathing protection. And I'll crack open the door here and the window on the other end of the garage/shop, so I get a little bit of a draft and carry some of that some of those harmful chemical stuff out of the air. There we go. Got that opened up. And now I just need to find my mask. Let's see. Is it? Looks like I've got some extra cartridges there, and there's there's the actual mask. All right, it's kind of buried here in some of the other supplies. So let's see if I can. I always have difficulty getting this cartridge to stick properly. Let's see. So of course I should broadcast it internationally, because what's better than everyone around the world being able to see you struggle, right? That is the epitome in life. That is not on properly. Come on now. It seems like it should go on like. Seems like it should just go on. Come on now. All right. I think that should work. Let's see. And there's Pilato Creations merchandise available by clicking somewhere. All right. So before I start working with that, let me put on some protection for my hands as well. Hit the like button. Oh yeah, I agree. Everybody hit the like button. Good idea, Suzanne. These gloves are much thicker and more difficult to put on than I prefer, but it's what I have in the shop, so it must be good enough. All right, just a little scrap piece of wood here. Stirring, stirring, stirring. I'm not sure how much stirring is enough. I would hope that my shaking earlier worked well to get things ready. And I'm doing this on top of my portable router table here, which I've just made out of a, just covered a kitchen cabinet basically. But I've covered the face of the router table with a couple of broken down cardboard boxes. Hoping that don't have any problems there. All right, I'm just going to use a foam applicator brush, and we'll see how this goes. All right, I'm going to focus in on the grain here. Hopefully give you all a really good look at how it changes. And let's see if I can straighten that up a little bit. All right. There we go. That's probably good, right? I'm liking how this is looking. What do you guys think? Got a couple spots so far that I've noticed that I didn't quite get filled in with the with my wood filler mixture of sawdust and shavings and glue. Um, Looks like that first layer is getting pretty well absorbed already. All right. What do you guys think? Nice, so pretty. Get back. Not midnight. Yeah. Good point, Ray. I'm yeah. Calvin came for the penetration. Amen, brother. Hey, Heather. Good to see you. I'm a big fan of penetration. Sometimes there's even oil involved. I'm just putting the second coat on here. It's not really a coat, really, but second application. This this oil is intended for hardwoods, but I think we determined the other night that this is probably a pine of some kind and softwood. So hopefully this stuff works okay, but we experienced some not so great weathering with my last finished choice of epoxy and polyurethane. So hopefully this fares much better than that did. And I think I'll just keep applying coats here until it doesn't seem to be soaking in anymore. I definitely want it to get enough to penetrate. All right. What do you guys think so far? How's that looking? Let's see. I'm here all week. Appreciate it, Calvin. Thanks for being here, man. You're a little muffled. Am I masked up? Am I masked up? I will let you be the judge of that. What do you think? I figured it might be better to wear a mask and protect my lungs. But I don't know. Maybe it'd be better to be able to be heard properly. But what do you think of the way that looks? Is it better with the oil finish, or is it better with just the bare wood? What do you guys think? Looks like that's one of those voids that I didn't quite get filled, or got filled, but then impatiently sanded away the filling before it had a chance to set. Because that's how I roll. So a lot of the oddities in the appearance here are because of the voids that I had to fill. So right in here, a lot of this over here, and here, 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 and here, all in here, a little bit around in here, there. So a lot of damage from bugs and or rot. So hopefully this works well for a long period of time. Hey Lions, good to see you, man. Let's see. Hostage check, money shot, nice. Let's see. This cool game, yeah. If I use a roller, that could be better. You know, that could be true. But the can itself said to use a brush, or what did it say? Brush or something else, not a roller. So I just took them at their word as to what to use to apply. Um, but but thanks for being here, Valeria. Let's see, not being held hostage. Hey, I could still be a hostage. You never know. And whoa, all right. Let's see. Yay, safety. All right. Try to use roller. Yeah, I don't know that I have any rollers available, but it's happening some varnishing. Yeah, so I'm applying some penetrating oil to my bench here, and it's just this Penafin penetrating oil finish. As I mentioned, it's for hardwood, but this is probably a softwood, probably a pine, as per Calvin the other day. So this is obviously going to have lots of outdoor use. So I have previously finished it with epoxy and polyurethane, but that did not weather well. So trying something different now. And let's see, give you a view of the workbench there that needs some cleaning up. And all right, let's I think we're ready for another go here. This penetrating oil seems to penetrate a lot. So going down a few layers in the wood, and it should be really good for protecting it. Guess we'll find out. Anybody ever used this product before? What has been your experience with it? Or is there another product that you've used that you think might work even better than this? Hey, Michael. Thanks for being here. It is a pretty slab of wood. Can't take too much credit for it because it was, whoa. It was just a log that was on on the property here at the house when we first moved in. So ended up cutting it into slabs because my wife said the log was ugly. It was just sitting by the fire pit for seating. I thought it looked great. She thought it looked ugly. So I cut it into slabs and made it into benches. So I'm going to show you the legs here. And just some rustic legs that I made out of some firewood that was also on the property. In the firewood pile. Whoa. And I joined it with mortise and tenon. You can see this one actually is now a through tenon because I had to remove layers of the prior finish, and that got down to the layer there. That's the thinnest part of the bench, is in that corner. You kind of see, oh, over there. And I've got a wedge kind of shimming this up right now so that it's more level and stable. But anyway, that's what it looks like. And if you want to see another slab that still has the old epoxy and polyurethane finish on it, looks like that. So this one I still need to work on. So this one, when I first put the epoxy on it, it looked a lot like this does when it's wet, but now it's a little drab and faded, and yeah, not as beautiful in my estimation. So adjust my tripod again here. Okay. Hey, Michael. So we've got Michael Wilson and Mike Osborne. And thanks for being here. This should be good. What kind of oil? So I think I showed you. This is an unsafe environment, probably. So does not have a Geiger counter. Oh, that's on my shopping list. So I'll get my Geiger counter here soon enough. Guessing it don't matter how you put that on the wood, so once it soaks in, yeah, probably. Let's see, maybe particles of active radiation, probably radiation there all around us anyway, so pretty slab of wood, lines, Michael. So how you doing? I'm doing well. And let's see. Car reader. Sorry, don't think I have one of those. And not blue in this live. Yeah, that is weird. Wonder what we can do about that. Let's see here. Hopefully we can make a change there. Blue is my favorite color. It might have something to do with my favorite university. But all right, let's see. See exposed skin. Oh yeah, there's always exposed skin at my place. Just listening to a guy mumble. Yes. Yes, you are. I just, yeah. Just kidding, but not. Hey, Dave. Good to see you. And let's see. So I'm doing after. Yeah, I haven't heard from him since that loss. Yeah, since the 49ers loss. So he was supposed to come over for dinner yesterday, but we haven't seen him. So and he's also supposed to be picking up some of these tires that he has stored here. So he was going to sell them, but like I said, I haven't seen him. So we'll see how he does. Be cursing in Irish, yeah. I feel like I got one breath before being dunked. Darth Gelato, sweet. Happy as a clam, sweet. All right, let's. This looks dry again over here, and then mostly over here. Some spots that still look wet, but give it another round. Another round of oil. How many of you use penetrating oil on a regular basis? And I'm curious how many times I might need to coat this before it finally feels like it's got enough on there. Any ideas? This is my first time using this product. Probably not the last time I'll use this stuff, but especially if it works out well. And I'll just go over and even out that last application. Move the oil to the thirstiest parts of the bench. And I think it's probably ready for another application already. As thirsty as this is, I'm thinking maybe I didn't get a large enough container. I figured this would probably be big enough to do not just this one, but the other 3 benches that I have to do after this one. This is the only one that's ready for this stage, though. I still need to resurface the other 3, remove the old finish, and fill in whatever voids are there. And sand them down. All right, so got Wes is in the house. Thanks for being here, man. Let's see. You got unmodded. What? Who did that? Let's see. Thank you. Thank you. You covered there, Calvin. Let's see. Sorting a few things out, Lions. Good to hear. It's nice to have things sorted. After I ran the chat right up. Yeah, I don't know why there would have been any issues there. Let's see. Oh, here except shoot. Yeah, could be. Looking great. Thanks, Wes. It's only good fun. Hey, thanks for being here, Calvin. Appreciate it. Yep, that is my first name. The secret is out. Let's see. Wax on, wax off. Yeah, similar. Similar. So, all right, let's do another round. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. I was in the hotel room with my wife in Indiana last week, and we were looking at things to watch on the television, and she turned on the old Karate Kid movie with Ralph Macchio and all the fun hits. And she was not that interested in watching it. She told me though that she had never actually seen the whole thing, and so I convinced her to watch just a little bit of it. And then we ended up doing something else for a while. Somebody called or something. I think there was a phone call, and so we just had it playing in the background and came back to it after a while, and it was already to the All Valley tournament. So of course we couldn't leave for that. So I actually got my Karate Kid fix in recently. All right, give you a look at how it's coming across right now. What do you think? Let's see. We're just really soaking it in. Yeah. I don't know why your wife doesn't like rustic look. I like it. Yeah, I think she's fine with this. She just didn't like the log sitting out there by the fire pit before I cut it into slabs. She likes this a lot better than what it was before. Just the log. So I talk about it more in my got a long form video from several months back. It's one of the first videos that I did on the channel, and I think it's called um, turning ugly logs into less ugly benches, something like that. So my kids loved it. Watched the new series together too. Yeah, yeah. I've been watching I've been watching the Cobra Kai series. I don't think I've seen the latest season, but that's a fun one. Watch it with the kids. Looks really good. Thanks, Ray. Wow, never could have gotten that finished without the weathering that's gone through. Yeah, looks awesome. Thanks, appreciate it. Yep, it. I'm starting to see some pooling here in some spots, like on the knots here. Um, so I'm just gonna spread this existing finish around. That was one of the issues that I had when I applied the epoxy the first time around, is that the epoxy that I was using was intended for countertops. Basically had leftover from when we did our kitchen island. And the experience that I had with doing the countertops was that you pour the epoxy out and it self levels, right? And so like basically once you pour it, you don't really have to worry about moving it or anything. It just kind of self levels, settles, whatever. But what I found is that there were some parts of the slab. Well, basically the slab works way differently than a countertop, right? So some parts of the slab are way more porous than others. And so there were some sections that just really sucked up that epoxy and it got really dry, and other sections where it pooled up and it was just didn't look that great. So I think I ended up sanding it and then redoing the epoxy. But the second time, instead of pouring it and basically letting it sit, I was constantly moving the epoxy around so that the the dry sections that were soaking up a lot more would get more, and the portions that were already well coated weren't just glazing over. So trying to get an even coating across the whole slab. So that was a learning experience for me. So sometimes I learn. It's awesome. Hey, Grumpy. Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it. Okay. I think we're just about ready for another coat, but we've got a lot of areas that are pretty dry. think we're ready for more oil. I think I've probably used almost a quarter of this can already. I was not expecting to have to use that much. Might end up using half the can by the time I'm done. I was foolishly thinking that I might only need to do 2 or 3 applications, and then I'd be done and just letting it sit and soak in and rubbing it off after 20 minutes. But this is accepting a lot more oil than I expected. For those of you who have experience with penetrating oils, is this pretty common that it takes this much in? Maybe it's just because this is a softwood and just maybe more porous than most hardwoods. I don't know. But good to gain experience and enlightenment. Yeah, that is just really soaking in spots. Okay. We'll keep going in until it doesn't anymore. Yeah, that makes sense. Keep going until it doesn't. I like it, Lions. But yeah, here's the level of the can. Probably at least a quarter of it already used up. I think this was 1 quart. So maybe I should have gotten the gallon. Didn't really. Well, I don't remember if they had a gallon. Maybe it was just a half-gallon container was the next size up, but didn't really seem like it was that much more expensive than the quart. So maybe I should have gone with that. As much as this is soaking in, especially I'm not sure how well this keeps, but You'll have to reapply over time because that's just how this works. So, it'll kind of wear off or whatever after, probably at least annually. And I think the instructions said that if I'm that I may need to reapply as early as like within like 3 months, 3 or 4 months after the first application, and then maybe it lasts longer after that. But we'll see. Spread this around. Let's see. Hey, Mercantile. Thanks for being here. May your coffee be strong and your creativity be stronger. What if you let it set up before another coat? I don't know. I don't know, Michael. Um, um, I know that basically it was saying not to have a lot of excess on there. That if you have excess, it will um, basically just harden and create a film on top basically instead of soaking into the wood. But basically it said after you're done applying it, wait for 20 to 30 minutes, I think, and then wipe it with a clean cloth. But I mean, where this is just soaking in dry, um, like I don't know that that's going to make a lot of sense to just stop and let everything else set. Might as well just put more oil on it, right? So my plan is to just keep putting more oil on until it's not soaking in anymore. Let it set for 20 minutes or so, and then rub it off with the cloth. So that's my current plan. Maybe it's foolish. I don't know. But based on the instructions, I think that's my best course of action. Let's see, like an axe hands. How do I guess? Orami. Thanks for being here, Orami. Appreciate it. I don't know how well you guys can see on camera the dry spots versus the spots that are still wet. It's mostly dry right now. and get the tripod into a position here that allows you to see a bit of a close-up of the board, of the slab. Yeah, so all in here is pretty dry. There's a little bit of wetness still right there, and then dry all in here, dry all in there, wetness here and here. The knots are not really accepting much more oil. Seems like they're pretty saturated, but most of over here is dry. Just a few little spots of some wetness. I think at some point it has to not be starved for oil anymore, right? At some point, you're like, oh, that's enough oil. Don't want any more. But apparently we are not close to that point yet. What do you guys think of the different colors that are showing up? It's a little wild, all the different colors available to see in here. Now, obviously, some of these are not all that natural, as I was talking about before. had to do a lot of filling, and so a lot of the stuff in here and there, over here, over there, it's a sawdust and glue mixture. This is over here is mostly just a wood filler that I used the first time around. Um, but then a lot of the rest of the voids are filled with a sawdust and glue mixture and shavings. So I planed it and used some of the shavings from the planing and the sawdust from sanding it to make the mixtures to fill in the voids. So other than the glue, most of what's filling the voids here is actually the sawdust and shavings from this actual workpiece. Okay. That's when you're done, once it's full. Great contrast. Yeah. Thanks, Wes. Yeah, it seems like I just have to keep reapplying until I can't reapply anymore, until it doesn't accept more oil. I just thought it would take a lot less oil than this. So we just keep going. We keep on keeping on. Or as Creedence Clearwater Revival said, gonna keep on a chugling. Not exactly sure what a chugling means, but it may apply to our current situation. I feel like there's more parts of it right now that are kind of filling in and filling up and not drying out as much. So we're getting a little closer, but not there yet. So more oil it is. Let's see. Slab looks proper rustic for eating. Like an outdoor table? No, it's a bench. So I'll show you the legs down there. So this is just seating for around the fire pit. And here's another one. This has the epoxy and polyurethane finish that's pre-weathered. So going to be using the router sled to remove the top layer of that and do the same thing to that I'm doing to this. And then I've got two others. Who wants me to take you outside to see the rest? I've got two other benches that I made. So basically I had the log and I cut the log into 4 slabs. So these 2 were the middle slabs, and then the other 2 were the slabs on the end. So on one side, they've got the curved side, and let's see, does the oil harden? I think so. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna let that set for a second here while we take you out to the fire pit to see the other side. And since I'm outside, I'll try removing the mask for a bit. But anyway, here's the fire pit, and I've got some seating here that's just the big stumps from the willow tree that I cut down a while ago. So I've got some lives that I did on the channel of using the router sled to level those off. These were already here, and then these are the 2 that I was talking about. So those ones are even more weathered, especially this first one here, looking pretty pathetic. And then that one there. But the legs on these, I ran out of the firewood that I used for the other legs. Didn't really have anything that was long enough, and so I decided to use some other firewood. But these ones aren't really that stable because the base is too narrow at the bottom. So I've got to, in addition to leveling these off and removing that top coat and filling in, I don't know if you can see that crack there. I need to do something to make those legs much more stable, because especially on this just rocky terrain, they're not really safe to sit in. So like that's not exactly what I was intending when I made them. So come back into the shop here and need to get my mask back on pretty quick here, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure if the oil is supposed to harden or it does something else, but doing the sides as well. I probably should, but on the sides, I still have, for the most part, the epoxy and polyurethane coating. So I wasn't going to worry too much about that, although I do have some spots here on this side, at least, that the finish is chipped off, but I haven't really prepared anything on that. So I said I probably should have, but I haven't. So probably wouldn't hurt to put some oil on the sides, but might not help that much either. All right, let me get this positioned. And one of my cartridges came off as I was adjusting the mask earlier, so let me get that cartridge back on. I've got the door fully opened right now, so it's a little cold, but I've got decent airflow. And okay. Oh, let's see. What am I looking at here? There we go. All right. So let me I'll do the side a little bit here. What's it going to hurt, right? And probably be better if I had, removed the prior finish before applying the penetrating oil, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. All right. Starting to wonder if this will take the whole court. All right. Cross braces. Besides cross braces. No, not really any cross braces. Just have the slab and then the legs that, as I mentioned before, I made from um, just firewood that I had on site, and they're just mortised, just mortise and tenon. So right here you can see that it's the tenon comes all the way through. But on the rest of them, they're not through tenons. It wasn't intending for that to be a through tenon either, but it was a little thinner over there, and after using a router sled to re-level this surface, it took off enough to expose the tenon. So that was not my intent. I was not looking to expose anything that had not yet been exposed. But sometimes that's what happens. All right. Okay. So, the amount of traffic on the road over here at the moment. Mostly close that door, which will cut back on the ventilation, but should also cut back on the noise. All right. Do more and more and more. And hey, Happy. Thanks for being here. For those of you that know, does the penetrating oil harden? So this is Penafin penetrating oil finish. And so it has 99% UV protection, Brazilian rosewood oil. This is not a sponsored video. This is just what the hardwood store dude told me would be best for this application. And but yeah, I'm not sure. Is Brazilian rosewood oil harden, or is it just a protective coating? So it's supposed to give lots of UV protection at least. Says it's for furniture, railings, decks, boats, and docks. It doesn't say anything about benches for fire pits, so maybe this isn't the right product to use, but you never know. So yeah, I think I'm approaching having used about half of this cord already. I was not expecting that it would take this much. Maybe I should have considered that. It would take a lot of oil, but a fair amount of surface. But yeah, once this cures, anyone know does it harden, or how does it protect the wood? Do wipe the entire surface 20 to 30 minutes after application. Apply to dry, clean, bare wood. Use a brush or sprayer. Place any rags used for wiping into a container filled with water. Stir this product thoroughly before and frequently during application. Ooh, I have not been stirring it during application. So probably a good idea to stir it up. Now that I've already used half of it. Probably in need of a stir. If the weightier material had settled on the bottom, that might make sense why it's soaking up so much. Maybe if I were stirring more frequently, it wouldn't take as much. Or maybe not. All right. All right. Do stir the product thoroughly before and frequently during application. Do not forget to wipe surface. Do not use steel wool in wood preparation. Do not apply to wet or damp wood. Do not apply in direct sunlight or when the wood is hot to the touch. Do not apply over any existing finish unless it is paraffin. Okay, like I just did on the sides. Um, and apply more coats of paraffin than indicated. Do not apply more coats than is indicated in the directions. Now let me look at my directions again. Shake well and stir thoroughly. Do not thin or blend with other products. Do not over apply. Excess oil will not penetrate. It will gel on the surface and result in a tacky finish. Do not apply when wood is hot to the touch or when wood is wet or below 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Apply one coat according to coverage recommendations with a brush, stain pad, or garden pump sprayer to clean, dry, unfinished premium wood of any species. This is not premium wood, but whatever. After 20 to 30 minutes absorption, wipe entire surface with a nap-free cloth. Surface is ready for use in 12 hours. Apply maintenance coat anytime the wood looks dry and faded. This may be within the first 1 to 3 months after first application. Always follow the preparation instructions before each application. Wash, let dry 48 hours. Reapply paraffin, wipe following 20 to 30 minutes. Absorption, surface is ready for use in 12 hours. What do you guys think? Am I doing anything different than the instructions indicate? Should I have just applied and then used my cloth 25 to 20 to 30 minutes later? Do you think it's good that I keep reapplying more and more and more because of these dry spots? Okay. Brazilian rosewood oil sounds cool. Yeah, beautiful piece of wood. Thanks. Thanks, Happy. Like I was saying earlier, it's just from a log that was on our property here when we moved in. My wife said the log looked ugly, even though I thought it looked great. It was just rustic seating around the fire pit. And so I took the chainsaw, cut it into 4 slabs, and made it into 4 benches. This one, the one over here that I was showing everyone earlier, um, and 2 others that are outside. I used firewood to make the legs, and then I finished it initially with um, epoxy and polyurethane. Oh, so that's what this is right now. Pretty weathered. Doesn't look nearly as good as it did when I first applied everything. And so I've been removing, well, on this one, I removed that top coat with my router. Used a homemade router sled. And doing a new finish with penetrating oil because that's what people who purport to know told me would be best. Let's see. Okay. I'm back. Just asked the great computer god. It doesn't harden, but it stays in the wood. Seems like a pretty good product from what it was saying. No oily layer left on the surface. Cool. Wondering about that, being able to use it on a boat. Yeah, it actually says for furniture, railings, decks, boats, docks. So, presumably it's okay to use on a boat because that's what it says to use it on. As long as you wipe off the excess, then it'll be fine. Yep. Hey, Sophia. Thanks for joining us. Beautiful coloring. Thank you. Are you talking about me or are you talking about the wood for the beautiful coloring? Could be either one, right? Or both, hopefully. Maybe. All right. Let's see. Happy. Benches look great. Thanks, Happy. Got to hold up for a while. Yep. The wood. And you. Sometimes when I beg for the compliments, I can get them to come in, and other times, especially when I'm just at home with the family, I'm begging for the compliments, and instead I get the opposite. So you never know for sure which way it's going to go. But yeah, right in here, still pretty dry. Over here seems to be getting pretty close, but on the edge here and right in here, it's already dry. Yeah, all right in here is all still pretty dry. Doesn't really seem to be accepting. Well, it seems to be accepting the oil really well, all too well. So it's really, really soaking in over here. But good to know. Apparently it doesn't harden. Just stays on the wood, but it does require reapplication. So it says as soon as 1 to 3 months after the initial application to do a follow-up application. And then in talking with other people about using penetrating oil for this kind of application, they say that I'll have to reapply every year, which is fine. Hopefully when I reapply, it doesn't take as much as it's taken this time. But hopefully this finish will be something that is easy to maintain going forward, whereas the epoxy with polyurethane over the top is not holding up. So, okay. Hello. All right. Throwing our hellos around. So, time for some more finish. It's crazy how much oil this is taking. Still soaking it up. Okay. Isn't there a rule for ace handles? Once a day for a week, once a week for a month, and once a month for a year? Ace handles? I'm not sure what you mean by ace handles, but seems a bit excessive. Axe handles. Oh, okay. About 4 inches thick. Um, the slab. Let's see. Okay. Over here, it's right about 3.5 inches. Right there, it's probably closer to 3 3/4. There, it's about 2 3/4, and there about 2.5. And in this corner, it's only about 1 inch. In the middle, about 2.5. And over here, yeah, about 2.5. So getting up to close to 4 inches in this corner, and then only about 1 inch in this corner to 2.5 inches over there. So thickest here, thinnest here, and then somewhat uniform at around 2.5 inches over on this side. 2 inches. So, yeah, up to 4-ish inches over here, which is kind of odd too, because this is the thinnest part, but it seems like this is soaking up the most of any of the slab so far is in this area where it's the thinnest. Over here, especially right in here on this side, it's not really taking much more oil. Seems like it's pretty saturated over here, and for the most part in here, but all of this area here, a little bit over in this area, and then a little bit over in here are all staying pretty dry. Okay. Loads of it then, living trees, about 50% water, 50% wood fiber, so plenty of room for oil. Yeah, good. See if the oil has gone through. What do I think about Trumo? I'm not sure what Trumo is. Is it level? Oh, not perfectly, because obviously this is almost 4 inches over here and just 1 inch over here. So I'm just propping it up with a wedge so that I've got a stable surface. So I'm not really that worried about it being level, because I'm just brushing it on. So I'm not really relying on gravity to level out the finish. But yeah, I'm sure it's not perfectly level, but it's relatively flat, relatively level. But like I said, I don't think for my purposes being level is all that necessary. And then what was the other question here? Yeah, Trumo, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Trump, oh, this is not a political channel. So there are lots of channels out there that if you want to talk about Trump or whoever else, go for it. But this is not one of those channels. So politics is not what we focus on here. We're hanging out, doing some woodworking, having some fun. So those who want to talk about Trump or whatever, feel free to do so elsewhere. Let's see. Not running one end. Oh, and then Lions, you were asking if it's soaked through underneath. Let's take a look. just to move this stuff over here. And the answer is no. I don't see any oil that's soaked through. Do you? Now, obviously, the edges have some oil coming through, but that's, I think, because of the oil that I put on the edges, which looks to have been completely insufficient. But yeah, otherwise, I don't think there's any oil coming through. Good question, though. It is a penetrating oil. So if it penetrated all the way through, that would be pretty interesting to see. Over here, staying pretty wet. So I think over here it's pretty full. In the knots again, pretty full. Over in here is still wet. Yeah, pretty much everything over here is staying wet into there. A little bit of dryness in here. But then pretty much everything over here is still dry. And then a big chunk, big swath over there is wet, is still dry. So we'll keep going. We're definitely getting closer, but we're also getting closer to the bottom of this can. Okay. Okay. You put oil on the bottom also? I probably should. I hadn't really been planning to, but yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. Protect it from the elements out there. But yeah, I probably should do that. Oh man, more work. Thanks a lot, Happy. So yeah, I have not put oil on the bottom. but I probably should. Hmm. This is just soaking this oil up. Uh, Thinking too, but didn't know. Yeah, probably. Sandy, thanks. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your comments. Looks beautiful. And now, are you talking about the bench, or are you talking about? Hmm? All right. I think I've now used more than half of the quart here. Okay, guessing it's pretty much soak the thing regardless and wipe off the excess. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So, like right in here, um, and on the knots, I think it's taken on as much as it's going to. But right in here and over there, it's still thirsty. So I think if I stop now, I'm probably just going to have to reapply a bunch within a month or so anyway. So might as well get it nice and saturated now, so that, I mean, it said, um, let's see, do not Um, let's see. Oh, I should stir it again. You stir frequently. This is my second time stirring since I first opened it. And I opened it up after shaking it and stirred it, and stirred it when it was about halfway gone. I'm probably down to like a third of the quart. So let's see, what else did it say here? Do not over apply. Excess oil will not penetrate. It will gel on the surface and result in a tacky finish. So I think over applying just means that it's sitting on top of the surface. So I think until I've got stuff sitting on top of the surface, like over here, so over here, it's not sitting on top of the surface. So I haven't over applied. That's the way I read it. When I first started, I was trying to be very judicious with how much oil I put on at a time, thinking I didn't want to waste a bunch of oil by putting a bunch on there and then having to just wipe it off. Now I'm like, just take it on there because it is still thirsty. For what it's worth, I think this is the most attractive of the 4 slabs. It's got the 2 knots and a lot of interesting detail because of that. The other 4, I think for the most part, are not nearly as interesting. The one that came from right here, that was the end of the log, it also has the 2 knots, so it's somewhat interesting in that respect, but that one's much more boring. Right? Although the side of it is somewhat interesting because it had so much rot and everything that I had to cut out. I just kind of angle grinded away a bunch of what was not really usable. But I think this one, one of the most visually interesting of the slabs that I got from that log. Let's see. Grain and the coloring is beautiful. Thank you. Definitely the best way to go. No protection. Got to run. All right, Happy. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Is it in turpentine or paraffin? Is what in turpentine or paraffin? Let's see. Cheers, Happy. See you soon. Have a great day. See you so. You know what it is? I don't know for sure. Like I said, it was just a log on the property when I got here. I thought it might be birch because of some circumstantial evidence, not because of anything about the wood itself, but it also had a well. Anyway, I was talking with Calvin Seaton at Dad's Workshop on the live the other night, and his guess was that it is a species of pine, and I don't I don't have anything to counter that concept. So could be pine, could be something else, but some of the things that he said in support of pine is that it does have sap. That was one of the problems that I had, is that even after I refinished everything, put it out there, it was still leaking sap both through the top and through the bottom. And it has these, the damage here that I had to fill in. He was saying it's probably from pine borer bugs. And so it makes sense that it would be pine if these were pine borers. And I think just the grain itself, Calvin seemed to think was from a pine. I don't remember what species of pine he said, but probably pine. The legs, though, we're pretty sure are birch, river birch. That might explain why it's taking in so much oil. Is pine thirstier than other woods, or is it like just softwood is thirstier than hardwood? This is intended as a hardwood oil, which the dude at the hardwood store nearby where I bought this, he pointed out that this is intended for hardwoods, but probably work about as well as anything for for this if it is pine. He also said pine is not great for this application. I was like, well, yeah, the log was already on the property, so it didn't really cost me a lot to make the bench from the pine, other than time and effort. But that doesn't mean it's the best material to use for the purpose. If my intent were to make the best fire pit bench that I could, and my starting materials were whatever I wanted, this probably would not have been my first choice. But since I already had the log, and the question was what to do with the log that my wife thought was ugly, I'm not too upset with what I've done with it. Soft, I think has more room in between the grains, faster growing, less dense. Yeah, it makes sense. The best wood is the wood you got. Yeah, and I've got some good wood, let me tell you. Hmm. I will put on another application here, and then I will show you some of the wood that I have here in the shop. Not all of the wood, but some of the wood. Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's trying to call. Who would dare to do that while I'm on a live? Hmm? Who in the world? Oh, client. I will have to call them back later. Perhaps after I make it into the office in a little while. I was expecting to be done with this quite a while ago, and possibly on my way into the office, but this is so much thirstier than I expected. All right, I'll let that soak in. I'll give you a little tour of some of the wood in my shop. Hey, Lawrence. Thanks for being here. Let me check on chat, see if anything else I need to address before. Cool, let's see. Yep, awesome green. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Lawrence. All right, so let's take a look at some of the other wood hanging out in the shop here. I'll collapse the tripod a little so it's easier for me to carry this around. All right, so I mentioned the willow stumps that I have out in the by the fire pit. Here's some willow slabs that came from the same tree in our backyard, and planning to make, I don't know, some charcuterie boards or something out of those. So let's see. We didn't do a particularly great job at flattening those when we did it on the bandsaw, not on my bandsaw because mine doesn't have enough resaw capacity. But then I got a bunch of chunks of willow outside that I've been planning to turn on the lathe here once I get the lathe actually running. So it works. I've just been concerned about some of the shortcomings because it's so old. All right, then I've got a bunch of bunch of stuff here on the plywood cart. This is the back side of the plywood cart. Just random stuff that I've collected. And then, so then here's the plywood on the plywood cart. And various types of plywood. I've got some premium alder plywood that I'm planning to use to make a new entertainment center that matches the speaker stands that I made already. And then I've got a bunch of other plywood and such from shipping containers that I've salvaged and that sort of thing. Over here, I've got some cherry wood, and this is cherry wood that I salvaged from a tree that a friend was taking down. So it's mostly the branches of the tree that I used, or that I got this from. And then some guy was getting rid of some maple wood on Facebook. So got a bunch there and more in my homemade kiln here. So this was the first batch that I dried in the kiln, and the second batch is in there now. It's a lot less than what's right there, but still kind of dry. Some other hardwood that I salvaged from Marketplace is this oak up here. This is from Oak Hardwood Flooring, and so someone was getting rid of their oak hardwood floors, and I decided to take advantage. And then back behind that is a bunch of redwood that I salvaged from somebody who was getting rid of their deck. So, um, and then again, just some old shipping materials. This cedar right here was, let's see if I can, I'm not sure how well I'm showing you. That cedar is actually stuff that I salvaged from the firewood pile when we first moved in, and made a few little things with it, including some boxes like that. But anyway, that's just kind of a brief overview of some of the wood in my shop, at least the wood that I can show you. All right. And then reposition the tripod here. There we go. And then let me just give you a view of how this is looking. Does it come through on camera how dry parts of it are? Because like right in here is pretty dry. The rest of it is, I think, finally getting saturated, but there's still some areas in here that are not too saturated, but yeah, all in this swath here, pretty dry. Let me know if you can see that on camera or if it's not really that visible. And then the Pilato sign in the back here. This was a gift from my wife for Christmas last year, I think. So got some to go out there. Yep, can almost see it from the sheen. All right. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I've definitely used at least 3/4 of this can. I have less than a fourth of it left, I think. Hmm. Prepping dinner in my next live, watching them. What are you doing on your next live, Lions? Let me guess. Carving a spoon. Hmm? I keep thinking this must be close to saturated, right? And it just keeps soaking up more and more. You know, it would have been a lot cheaper is to just use primer and paint. But then you don't get to see the cool grain. But it would be cheaper and faster for sure. Um, yeah. Okay. Well, getting kind of late, and I actually have some other stuff I want to get done today. So I think I might just say, even though this is not accepting as much, or it's accepting way more oil than I expected, I'm getting a few more spots here of areas that look like it's pretty close. And then over here, there's a few little spots that are still drying out pretty quickly. And here, um, this whole area is still absorbing quite a bit, still relatively dry, but I'm running pretty low on the penetrating oil, and I'm also running low on time. So even though I think it can accept more oil, I might call it good and then give myself 20 minutes before I wipe it off. All right, let's just call that good for now. Even though I'm sure it could take more. Let's see, should I take these off? Yes, I think I will. All right. Oh, hey, Mike is making stuff. Thanks for being here, dude. What it do? 6 months as a member. Holy crap. Yeah, happy 6 months from the Texas Tech Booster Club. Man, Texas Tech got us again in basketball this time. They've really got our number. So that was a frustrating game because it was back and forth in the first half, and then mid second half, BYU goes on a big run, takes a 9 point lead with what was it, 9 minutes left, give or take, and then it was all Texas Tech from there on out. Just yeah, frustrating. So stop throwing it in. My time will come around. Chin up, buddy. All right. Hey, my chin's up. It was on the road, and that was our second conference road game and first conference game this year against a really good opponent. So we'll have lots more opportunities to hopefully play better, including against number one Arizona here, and I think next week. So we'll have lots of opportunities to show how good or bad the team is. So and I think our last game of the year of the regular season is with Texas Tech at the Marriott Center. So hopefully there's some payback in that game, but we'll see. Texas Tech has really had BYU's number this year in football and basketball. So hopefully we can turn that around. But if not, oh well, we'll deal with it. Let's see. I reckon that would be good to go. Yeah, I hope so. I can already see this is looking pretty dry already over here, but there's a fair amount of it that still has a wet look to it. So I give it 20 minutes to set, and then I'll just find a clean rag over here to wipe it down with. That should be good. See if I can find something that'll work. These scissors are not particularly good at fabric, or really much of anything else. There we go. Just needed to get it started. And that's ready to go when it is time. Let's see. Good hanging out. Got to go do your live. Great. What are you doing for your live, Lion? And Mike's got to get a video done. Sweet. You know what your video is going to be about? Let's see. Let me show you. And like, are you recording your video or are you editing? What stage are you at? Also, I'm wondering how muffled am I? Is it relatively easy to understand what I'm saying or not that easy? So, in the meantime, let me see if I can. Let's see. Do I want to bother cleaning up? Not really. Um, so, for those of you who may not have seen earlier, this is the bench that I've been working on. Here's a bench that I made at the same time as that other bench, but it's got a coating of epoxy and then polyurethane. So need to do to that what I've already done to this. And let's see, making some new sharpening blocks in the dreaded MDF. Ah, okay. Interesting. Why is MDF dreaded? I like the stuff. Works well for what it's for. And my hands must be feeling a little cold here as I'm rubbing them together, get some friction going. But understood. Yeah. Oh, good. I was wondering about that. Calvin was teasing earlier about my muffled voice, my Darth Pilato. So probably best that I keep it on because the fumes are still significant in here. So I'll keep the mask in place. Probably better if I speak a little bit more loudly than usual, but just make it a little easier for everyone to hear. So anyway, let's see. I'm sanding that off first. Sanding off the finish. Is that what you're asking? I sanded, or are you saying about asking about the other bench? What I did to this one, so this one looked like that, except worse, really, because it had the epoxy finish and then the epoxy and then the polyurethane over the top, and it got pretty weathered and pretty nasty. So I actually took it out and used my router sled and my router and took off the top layer using the router. And then the other night on a live, so I routed it. It's been probably a few months ago. and then I put it in the kiln here to dry, and it didn't dry as well as I wanted, but I'm not going to worry about that. And so yeah, routed it, dried it, planed it a little bit, sanded it, and then used the planing. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? The not the wood chips, but the residue from the planing and the sawdust. Use that to fill in the voids, like right in here and over here and over here and here and there, over here and a lot in here. A lot of voids that I had to fill in. And then sanded it again and onto the penetrating oil step. So, not real wood, that's all meant for this application, though, flat. Yeah, 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 it is what it is, right? So I'll use it, and people can sit on it either way. So um, it'll be fine. So yeah, one of the things I did with this after using a router sled for this surface, I turned it over and then routed the tops or the bottoms of the legs, at the feet, because my legs weren't uniform. Because as you can see, they they're just some firewood that I had in the firewood pile, and then my thickness varies, and so I just made them the best I could when I made them. So then when I used the router sled on the top, I turned it over and flattened the feet so that they would be able to put it on level ground and have the bench be level and not rocking back and forth. So it's much better now than it was before. But yeah, it still has some stuff to go on it. And then obviously this one, it has an added issue in that my legs are a little bit too close together and not angled out. Right, so this guy should be angled out more, and really that one too, angled out more. Same thing on the opposite side. So that one can be a little bit unstable at times, and it probably rocks as well. So see if it, yeah. So my feet are not all touching ground at once, so that's an issue. And then the other two that I made are actually have even more issues, because instead of using these firewood branches or whatever, I use these split logs, and so at the base of those, it's just not wide enough, and so those have a lot of instability. So be really careful if you want to sit there. Switch into laptop mode. Okay. Fine by me, Lions. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. It's fun to hang out, chat, and have some company while I work on the projects here. And supposed to let it sit for at least 20 minutes before rubbing off any excess. Still showing pretty wet over here. And here, there, and in a few little spots elsewhere. Over here is mostly wet. That's a relatively good sign. But yeah, most of over here is already dried out. And a little bit in here is dry as well. So got a few more minutes to go before I can start wiping that. But overall, it's not too terrible. But yeah, I used way more penetrating oil than I was anticipating. And it's all your fault. I'm not sure why it's your fault, but it can't be my fault. Back on the big screen. Sweet. Sweet. Big screen. I'm feeling privileged. I'm warranting the big screen at Lion's Place. That's a spot of honor, I believe. And if it's not really a spot of honor, just let me keep on believing it. Yeah, quite the honor. Let's see. Is it expensive? Could try linseed oil on another one. That's a good question. So, yeah, this is the Brazilian rosewood oil. For a quart, I paid about $30 for it. So, you know, it's all relative. So, I'm not sure how much is linseed oil typically. Let's see. And did you say boiled or just linseed oil? Would you do boiled linseed oil or just straight up raw linseed oil? I'm not sure what would be preferable or better. I would assume boiled, but I'd probably want to do some research on that before committing. And I'm not sure how much it costs, so it might not be any less expensive than this Brazilian rosewood oil. I also considered tongue oil. That was one of the other options that the gentleman at the hardwood store was looking at and considering. But after considering it for a bit, he opted for this other less expensive product. So at least I think it was less expensive. I don't remember for sure. All right, I think that puts us at 20 minutes. So I'll give it another minute or so, and then I'll start wiping this off and calling it good. And yeah, you may be able to tell that most of that oil has already been absorbed, already penetrated down below the surface. Oh, so knock the tripod around. All right. All right. And here's how it looks after wiping off the excess. All right. Um, Ready, phone. Oh, no problem, Lions. And beautiful green. Oh, thank you, Dolores. Appreciate that. It's you know, I mean, I didn't do anything to create the grain, but I certainly appreciate how it looks, and glad you like it too. So let me see. Yeah, fumes are still pretty high on this, so I'm going to keep my door and window cracked, creating a bit of a draft, hopefully clearing out the smell and odor. And I think I'm going to call it good, and see you all next time. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And if you don't like this kind of content, then be better. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.